Imagine nearly 4 decades lying helpless, unable to walk, your hope fading with each passing year. This was the grim reality for the paralytic man at the Pool of Bethesda, waiting for a mysterious stir in the waters. Then, with a simple command from Jesus, he rose and walked. Was this a spontaneous recovery from a neurological disorder like conversion hysteria, or a profound, inexplicable miracle? Can modern neuroscience bridge the gap between mind, body, and the truly supernatural? Join us as we explore this ancient healing, questioning the limits of human understanding and the boundless power of the divine. The human body, a masterpiece of intricate design and astonishing functionality, stands as an irrefutable testament to a creator who, from a profound theological perspective, meticulously designed and endowed us with the extraordinary gift of movement. From the initial act of creation, God established the fundamental physical and biological laws that govern muscular contraction, skeletal structure, neural transmission, and the complex orchestration of coordinated motion. Our ability to walk, run, grasp, and perform countless precise actions is not merely an incidental function. It is a profound and vital aspect of our very existence, allowing us to interact with the world, express ourselves, and fulfill our purposes. At the core of this complex capacity lies the nervous system, a vast and intricately wired network comprising the brain, the spinal cord, and countless peripheral nerves that extend throughout the entire body. The brain, acting as the central command center, meticulously generates conscious intentions and unconscious reflexes that translate into commands for movement. These commands are then rapidly transmitted down the spinal cord, acting as a crucial information superhighway to specific motor neurons located in the spinal column. From there, these motor neurons project their long axonal extensions outwards, forming the peripheral nerves that precisely innervate or connect to individual muscle fibers throughout the body. The precise coordination and execution of movement involve an astonishingly complex interplay of signals, efferent signals carrying motor commands from the brain to the muscles, and afferent signals carrying sensory information back from the muscles, joints, and skin to the brain, providing continuous feedback on position, force, and touch. This entire system operates within extraordinarily precise natural laws of neurophysiology, biomechanics, and cellular biology. These laws dictate how electrical impulses are generated and propagated along nerve fibers, how neurotransmitters are released at neuromuscular junctions to stimulate muscle contraction, how muscles contract and relax in coordinated patterns, and how the brain integrates vast amounts of sensory input to fine-tune and execute complex motor sequences. The astonishing development of this motor system, from early fetal movements to the refined control of a mature adult, is in itself a profound testament to the divine blueprint for life, a testament to foresight, meticulous planning, and intelligent design. This foundational design inherently includes the innate human capacity for locomotion and purposeful action, allowing us to navigate our environment and engage in purposeful activity. Therefore, conditions like paralysis, whether complete loss of muscle function or severe weakness and impaired movement, represent a profound and often devastating deviation from this initial perfect design. Such conditions can arise from damage to the brain, spinal cord, or peripheral nerves. Understanding the unparalleled complexity, the exquisite precision, and the miraculous orchestration of human movement thus sets the profound stage for truly appreciating the astonishing and unparalleled nature of its instantaneous, miraculous restoration in the case of the paralytic at Bethesda, indicating an intervention that fundamentally transcends all known natural processes of disease and recovery. The biblical accounts, particularly in the Gospels, frequently highlight paralysis as a common and devastating affliction in the ancient world, often leading to profound physical immobility, complete dependence, and deep social marginalization. Unlike today, where specific medical diagnoses and rehabilitation programs exist. In ancient times, paralysis broadly encompassed any condition resulting in the loss of motor function, rendering individuals unable to move their limbs or body parts. This could range from conditions affecting the limbs to localized paralysis, or even severe weakness and atrophy, regardless of the underlying cause. The narrative of the paralytic man at the Pool of Bethesda vividly encapsulates this human suffering. For a staggering 38 years, this man lay by the pool, perpetually waiting, hoping against hope, for miraculous stirring of the waters. A widespread belief that an angel occasionally stirred the water, and the first person to enter afterward would be healed of whatever ailment they had. This profound duration of his affliction speaks volumes about its severity, chronicity, and the utter lack of effective medical recourse available in that era. His inability to move himself into the water underscores his complete physical helplessness and his absolute dependence on the compassion or assistance of others. Assistance that, for 38 years, never materialized. In ancient medical understanding, paralysis was largely a mystery. While some rudimentary observations of the body existed, there was no sophisticated anatomical knowledge of the nervous system, no understanding of neurons, spinal cord tracts, or brain function. Diagnoses were often based on observable symptoms rather than underlying pathology. Common causes of paralysis in the ancient world likely included severe poliospinal injuries from accidents or violence, stroke, certain infections, leading to neurological damage, and possibly even some forms of severe nutritional deficiencies impacting nerve health. Medical interventions were extremely limited, often relying on herbal remedies, massage, hot compresses, or superstitious practices, none of which offered genuine cures for organic, long-standing paralysis. Rehabilitation was non-existent, leaving individuals condemned to a life of immobility and dependency. The man at Bethesda was not merely suffering from a temporary weakness. His condition was so severe and chronic that he couldn't even help himself into a pool. His longing for the stirring of the water reveals a deep-seated belief in supernatural healing. Yet his continuous failure to reach the water highlights his profound physical incapacitation. When Jesus approaches him and asks, "Do you want to get well?" the man's response, "Sir, I have no one to help me into the pool when the water is stirred," powerfully underscores his physical inability and chronic dependency. Jesus' command, "Get up, pick up your mat and walk," is profoundly direct and immediate. The text then states unequivocally, at once the man was cured. He got up, picked up his mat, and walked. This was not a gradual recovery, a slow regaining of strength, or a period of rehabilitation. It was an instantaneous, complete, and verifiable restoration of full motor function to a body that had been immobilized for nearly 4 decades. This immediate transformation, allowing him not just to stand but to pick up his mat and walk away unaided, fundamentally distinguishes it from any known ancient medical intervention or any form of spontaneous remission for such a chronic, severe condition. The sheer speed, totality, and functional perfection of this healing pointed directly and undeniably to a power that transcended the natural limitations, medical understanding, and technological capabilities of that era, marking it as a clear demonstration of divine intervention that restored the very basis of human mobility. To profoundly grasp the implications of the paralytic's healing at the Pool of Bethesda, we must meticulously navigate the intricate neurological maze that defines human movement, specifically contrasting organic paralysis with the often enigmatic realm of functional paralysis. Human movement is an astonishingly complex process orchestrated by the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. It begins with the brain, where motor commands originate in areas like the motor cortex are planned and refined in the basal ganglia and cerebellum, and then transmitted down through the brainstem and along specialized tracts within the spinal cord. These signals then exit the spinal cord, via motor neurons in the ventral horn, whose axons extend out to form the peripheral nerves. These nerves finally terminate at the neuromuscular junction, where they release neurotransmitters to trigger the precise contraction of muscle fibers. Any disruption or damage at any point along this intricate pathway can lead to paralysis. Organic paralysis refers to a loss of muscle function due to actual measurable physical damage to the nervous system or muscles. This can include brain injuries, such as strokes, which interrupt blood flow to parts of the brain controlling movement, leading to conditions like hemiplegia, traumatic brain injuries, brain tumors, or neurodegenerative diseases like Parkinson's or ALS that progressively damage motor neurons. Spinal cord injuries, damage to the spinal cord due to trauma, infection, or disease, disrupting communication between the brain and the body below the injury level, resulting in paraplegia or quadriplegia. Peripheral nerve disorders, conditions like Guillain-Barré syndrome, neuropathies, or nerve impingement, which prevent signals from reaching muscles. Muscle diseases, conditions like muscular dystrophies, where the muscle tissue itself degenerates. In all these cases, diagnostic tests like MR, CT scans, nerve conduction studies, electromyography, and blood tests typically reveal clear, measurable evidence of structural damage or physiological dysfunction that directly correlates with the paralysis. Recovery from severe organic paralysis, if it occurs, is usually partial, slow, requires intensive physical therapy, and depends heavily on the extent and location of the initial damage. In contrast, functional paralysis, now primarily classified under functional neurological disorder, is a perplexing condition where individuals experience genuine symptoms of paralysis, weakness, or movement disorders. Yet comprehensive medical and neurological examinations reveal no detectable organic damage or structural abnormality to the brain, spinal cord, nerves, or muscles that can account for their symptoms. The symptoms are real and debilitating, but they are thought to arise from a software problem rather than a hardware problem. In the brain, a disruption in the brain's normal signaling and processing, often triggered by severe psychological stress, trauma, or emotional conflict. In FND, the brain's pathways for sending and receiving motor signals are intact, but they are somehow switched off or dysregulated. While recovery from FND can sometimes be sudden and dramatic, often referred to as a spontaneous remission or placebo effect, if triggered by belief or suggestion. It typically follows a period of psychological intervention or symptom resolution, and usually doesn't involve the immediate, perfect restoration of function after decades of complete immobility, especially if significant muscle atrophy has occurred. The question of the paralytic at Bethesda thus becomes critically poised between these two classifications. Was his condition a long-standing, organic paralysis that defied natural recovery, or a functional disorder that miraculously resolved? The immediate, complete, and public nature of his healing, allowing him to instantaneously perform complex motor tasks after 38 years, strongly challenges the likelihood of FND as a complete explanation, pointing to a profound intervention that transcends typical neurological recovery mechanisms. The case of the paralytic man at the Pool of Bethesda is unique and profoundly challenging to any purely naturalistic explanation, primarily due to the astonishing duration and apparent severity of his condition. 38 years of paralysis. To fully appreciate the miraculous nature of his healing, we must consider the physiological implications of such prolonged immobility within the framework of modern neuroscience and rehabilitation. If this man suffered from organic paralysis for almost 4 decades, the physical and neurological consequences would have been catastrophic and largely irreversible through natural means. Consider the biological realities. Muscle atrophy. Muscles that are not used for such an extended period would undergo severe and widespread disuse atrophy. Muscle fibers would shrink significantly, be replaced by fibrous tissue or fat, and lose their capacity for strong contraction. This process is rapid even in weeks. After 38 years, his muscles would be severely wasted, incapable of instantly supporting his body weight or executing complex movements. Rebuilding such atrophied muscle tissue takes months, if not years, of intensive, painful physical therapy, if it's even possible to regain significant function. Bone density loss. Prolonged immobility leads to significant demineralization of bones, making them brittle and highly susceptible to fractures. His bones would be too weak to support standing or walking without significant risk. Joint contractures. Joints that remain immobilized for decades would become severely stiff and fixed in position due to shortening of tendons, ligaments, and joint capsules. He would likely have had severe contractures in his hips, knees, and ankles, rendering his limbs rigid and unbendable. Breaking these contractures is agonizing and requires extensive, prolonged physical therapy or even surgical intervention. He could not have simply stood up. Nerve degeneration dysfunction. If his paralysis stemmed from damage to nerves or the spinal cord, 38 years suggests either severe irreversible damage, for example, transection of the spinal cord, extensive neuronal death from polio, or a chronic degenerative process that would not simply reverse. Neural pathways wire together with use. Prolonged disuse can lead to unwiring and loss of functional connections. Cardiovascular deconditioning. Long-term bedridden status severely impacts cardiovascular health, leading to orthostatic intolerance and generalized weakness. Even if we were to consider a diagnosis of functional paralysis, which can sometimes have sudden remissions, a 38-year duration is exceptionally rare and would typically involve profound secondary physical consequences like severe muscle atrophy and joint contractures that would prevent immediate complete functional recovery without extensive rehabilitation. While the brain might theoretically switch on the motor pathways, the body would be physically unprepared for immediate, complex movement. Furthermore, FND often has discernible psychological triggers or contexts, which are entirely absent in the biblical narrative, focusing instead on his physical incapacity. The biblical text states, "At once the man was cured. He got up, picked up his mat, and walked." This implies an instantaneous, complete, and perfect restoration of not just motor function, but also muscle mass, bone density, joint flexibility, and neurological integrity, a reversal of nearly 4 decades of severe physical deterioration. This level of immediate, holistic physical restoration from such a chronic and debilitating state is entirely inconsistent with any known natural process of healing, spontaneous remission, or the capabilities of modern medicine. It fundamentally bypasses all biological timelines and physiological limitations. The uniqueness of this miracle lies in its absolute defiance of the physical consequences of prolonged paralysis, pointing directly to a divine intervention that restored health not just at the neural command level, but at the cellular, muscular, and skeletal levels, demonstrating a power that transcends the very laws of biological decay and rehabilitation, unequivocally marking it as a sovereign act of God. Modern neuroscience has made incredible strides in understanding the intricate mind-body connection, exploring how psychological states, emotions, and cognitive processes can powerfully influence physical health and even manifest as physical symptoms. This rapidly expanding field delves into areas like psychoneuroimmunology and the study of functional neurological disorders, where symptoms like paralysis, tremors, or seizures occur without identifiable organic brain damage. Researchers utilize advanced imaging techniques to observe brain activity in real time, mapping neural circuits involved in sensation, movement, and emotional regulation. We now know that the brain is incredibly plastic and interconnected, allowing for complex interactions between our thoughts, feelings, and bodily functions. For instance, The placebo effect is a powerful demonstration of how belief and expectation can trigger genuine physiological changes, including pain reduction or even symptom improvement, even when inert substance is administered. This highlights the brain's remarkable capacity for self-regulation and healing, and its influence on motor control pathways. In the context of paralysis, modern neuroscience investigates several areas that might seem to touch upon the miraculous, yet always within the confines of natural laws. Neuroplasticity and rehabilitation. The brain's ability to reorganize itself after injury allows for remarkable recovery in some stroke or spinal cord injury patients through intensive, long-term physical and occupational therapy. This involves retraining neural pathways and strengthening remaining connections, but it's a slow, arduous, and often incomplete process. Brain-computer interfaces and exoskeletons. Cutting-edge technology is allowing individuals with severe paralysis to control robotic limbs or exoskeletons using their thoughts, or even to regain some voluntary movement through direct brain stimulation. These are technological marvels, but they are external aids or interventions, not intrinsic biological cures. Functional neurological disorder research. Research into FND continues to unravel how stress or trauma can disrupt brain circuits for movement without causing structural damage. While some individuals with FND can experience sudden remissions, often in response to a powerful emotional experience, psychotherapy, or even a strong suggestion, these recoveries typically occur in cases where no significant muscle atrophy or joint contractures have developed from decades of disuse. Furthermore, the recovery often requires ongoing psychological support to maintain. However, despite these astonishing advances and the growing understanding of the mind-body connection, the instantaneous healing of the paralytic at Bethesda after 38 years of complete immobility remains fundamentally beyond the scope of modern neuroscience and current medical capabilities. Science, while explaining how the brain and body function, cannot account for an immediate, perfect, and holistic restoration that bypasses decades of muscle atrophy, joint contractures, bone density loss, and any underlying organic neurological damage. It would necessitate an immediate regrowth of muscle fibers, complete liberation of stiff joints, and instantaneous repair of nerve pathways, processes that currently take months or years of intensive therapy, if they are possible at all. Even the most dramatic FND remission would likely not reverse 38 years of severe physical deconditioning. The biblical account describes not a gradual recovery or a technologically aided movement, but a direct, effortless, and total restoration of all physical capacities. The harmony between faith and science here lies in recognizing their distinct domains. Science explores the mechanisms and boundaries of the natural world, revealing the incredible order and complexity within creation. Faith, however, acknowledges a creator who established those laws, but can also, when his divine purposes require it, act directly to transcend them, demonstrating a sovereign power that operates beyond human capacity and understanding, offering a profound healing that no scientific advancement, no matter how sophisticated, can replicate. As we meticulously conclude our illuminating exploration of the paralytic's instantaneous healing at the Pool of Bethesda, positioned at the fascinating intersection of ancient miracle and cutting-edge neuroscience, a profound and undeniable truth emerges. While scientific inquiry offers invaluable and ever-deepening insights into the intricate workings of the human body and the astonishing complexities of movement and neurological function, there remains an unfathomable realm, a core mystery that inherently transcends the precise boundaries of our empirical understanding. Neuroscience, with its incredible array of sophisticated tools like functional MRI for mapping brain activity, advanced electrophysiology for studying nerve impulses, and genetic sequencing for identifying disease predispositions, meticulous methodologies, and relentless research, can precisely map the neural pathways of movement, minutely analyze the cellular and molecular mechanisms of various neurological disorders, and even design incredible technologies to restore partial or functional movement. However, it cannot, and by its very nature cannot, fully explain the sudden, perfect, and instantaneous restoration of long-lost motor function, coupled with immediate, flawless functional capability in an individual who had suffered complete immobility for nearly 4 decades through a simple, authoritative command. Our scientific models, no matter how advanced, how intricate in their detail, or how rigorously validated through empirical observation and controlled experimentation, are ultimately constrained by the observable, the measurable, and the repeatable phenomena that exist strictly within the confines of the natural world and its established laws. The miracle of the paralytic's healing, therefore, compellingly challenges us, as rational and intellectually curious beings, to acknowledge the inherent limits of human comprehension and the boundaries of purely materialist explanations for all phenomena. It powerfully suggests that some events operate on a level that utterly defies our current scientific paradigms, pointing decisively towards a divine agency that is not and never has been strictly bound by the very natural laws it itself meticulously established and consistently upholds. This is not, crucially, to say that science is irrelevant, fallible, or without immense value. Quite the opposite. Rather, it frames science as an extraordinarily powerful and, from a theological perspective, a divinely given tool for understanding God's intricate creation, a profound and privileged way to unravel the astonishing complexity, inherent order, and hidden mechanisms He wove into the very fabric of the universe, the human body, and the fundamental processes of life. However, God, as the omniscient, omnipresent, and omnipotent Creator, stands eternally and infinitely beyond and majestically above His creation. He can certainly work through natural processes, allowing for gradual healing, incremental medical progress, and the steady accumulation of scientific discovery, demonstrating His enduring providence and common grace. But He can also, when His divine purposes deem it necessary and appropriate, intervene directly to bring about outcomes that transcend the ordinary course of nature, directly defying predictable biological, physical, and even sociological laws. The story of the paralytic thus compels us to consider that the authority and immediacy of Jesus' command, "Get up, pick up your mat and walk," demonstrated not merely a profound understanding of the human condition, but a sovereign power over the very fabric of existence, capable of instantaneously reversing decades of physical decay and neurological dysfunction. The ultimate mystery of instantaneous, perfect healing, as seen at Bethesda, remains a powerful and enduring testament to a God whose wisdom, compassion, and power are truly boundless, reminding us that there are realities and forces at play in the cosmos that extend infinitely beyond the horizon of our current scientific knowledge and technological capabilities. This profound mystery leaves us with an overwhelming sense of awe, profound humility, and a compelling invitation to continuously contemplate the Creator whose works are truly unfathomable and whose ways are higher than our own, showcasing a majestic and harmonious coexistence of the natural and the divine. So, was the paralytic's immediate restoration at Bethesda merely a fascinating case of psychosomatic healing, where belief alone unlocks suppressed motor function? Or was it an undeniable, profound act that utterly transcends all neurological and medical logic, pushing the boundaries of what we deem possible? The more deeply neuroscience explores the mind-body connection, the more astonishing and inexplicable this 38-year healing becomes. Ultimately, this ancient narrative leaves us not with a simple scientific diagnosis, but with a lingering, profound question. How far can human understanding truly go? How much can our science unravel before we inevitably encounter a power that operates truly beyond our comprehension, a power that beautifully reveals the majestic harmony between the knowable and the eternally Mysterious, compelling us to look beyond what we can simply observe towards a greater truth.